At Green Stadium, we're getting ready for the Blue Ridge Border Battle, Western Carolina and ETSU on our Ingalls SoCon Game of the Week. We welcome you back in with Jared Singleton, Pete Hannity with you. A day that had a kickoff set for 1 p.m. between these two rivals. Well, you know what? I'm glad I've always asked a lot of questions of meteorologists that I've worked with. Jared, it's given me a better understanding of the phenomenon that we've witnessed today that has included a variety of different early spring weather combinations.
Well, if we've learned anything from 2020 is to expect the unexpected. And so, I think the most important thing is we're going to be kicking off here soon. And I think that's important for the guys that have been sitting in the locker room for the past hour or so. And you have to wonder, what's the energy level going to be like when we kick it off? Because I know as a former player, when you have these delays, whether it's in a game or practice, that first quarter, that first, phase of practice, there could be a lack of energy. Things could be slow. And, you look at both of these teams, which we'll get deeper and talk about, they really utilize the run game. And so it's going to be really important that those running backs hold on to the football and that those linemen, that they get all their cleats in the ground when they're trying to make those blocks to open up those big holes.
Now, we're sports guys. We're going to talk to you about the weather. So here's what has led us to what will be a delay of roughly an hour, 35 minutes or so. We finally hope to kick things off near the bottom of the hour. We had a hailstorm at about 11:30 a.m. here in Johnson City, and you see it accumulated on the field. Some of the players were out warming up for each team. They cleared the field immediately. Then about 10 minutes into that hailstorm, things eventually subsided. But boy, it came down in droves. So they let the hail melt. They didn't want to sweep the field. They just let it melt. Came back out, and around 12:45 or so, they cleared the field once again because there was another storm coming in. And as you see above, there it is arriving in our time-lapse video that included lightning. And so they have certain policies in place when there are lightning strikes in the area. They cleared the field, and that delayed us again.
Well, the good thing is I've seen Twister growing up being a 90s kid, and so I feel very well equipped and prepared in the event something like that were to happen.
I'm not going to go out on a limb and suggest that you pulled your own Helen Hunt and went out searching for such storms in your days growing up in the Midlands of South Carolina. So back out live, and we see what's going on the field below here at Green Stadium as the Western Carolina Catamounts have upset on their mind, trying to have an impact on the race here in the SoCon.
And again, right now you want your quarterbacks and all your skill position guys getting as many touches of the football as possible. I know sometimes coaches would tell the wide receivers, listen, we're not going to let you wear gloves this game because it is so slick. We want you to get the full feel of the football. And so right now you want to make sure your skill players are really comfortable. They're getting loose, they're getting that energy and that mojo going, but most importantly, they feel comfortable catching and running with the football so we can make sure that we don't have any turnovers on the offensive side.
And as we continue the weather forecast portion of our program, so that is what the radar is doing right now. And we suppose if you've watched enough weather on TV, you understand what everything means from red to yellow to green. I can tell you that purple is never a good thing either. We see some of that having passed through these parts as well. We're hoping for a good window here to get this game in that certainly has ramifications on the SoCon race, with an ETSU team coming in control of its own destiny in terms of winning a championship in the spring, and Western Carolina trying for a second win overall in the season, which began with 3 non-conference games in the fall and has continued to a 1-4 start in SoCon play in the spring.
And again, I think this is an ETSU team that really wants to come out and continue to prove themselves because they are in the hunt for a championship. And also, if you look at the flip side at Western Carolina, they want to get that taste out of their mouth. They had a tough loss last week. They've got good players. They have great leadership in their quarterback position. So they want to kind of come out after a great week of practice and kind of get that fresh taste in their mouth, because last week was definitely a tough week for them.
Yeah, it really was. We saw the Catamounts down at Mercer, and that turned out to be a loss of 17 points, a game they fell behind 21-0, so they're trying to have a better start today. And ETSU comes in off a huge road win in which they led early on a scoop and score touchdown down in Charleston against the Citadel. Saw the Bulldogs take the lead, but then ETSU rallied with their defense again, putting a stellar performance together. You see the Buckeyes Bucks warming up on the field below. You remember 2 years ago in the 2018 campaign, they shared the SoCon title in Randy Sanders' first season. And then in 2019, ended up going 3-9, but that could have easily been a 9-3 record with as many close losses as they had.
I was about to say, you know, a lot of those games, Pete, you know, they lost by 7 points or less. And, you know, again, it's just that, you know, they're right there on the fence. You know, what do they need? They need a couple guys like Quay Holmes, you know, a couple guys on defense to really get them over the fence where they can continue to start competing for championships, because their head coach, he knows a little something about championships.
They're a team still trying to figure it out offensively. We're told you could see Brock Landis, a junior college transfer, get the start in place of Tyler Rydell today for this battle against the Catamounts of Western Carolina. ETSU's defense, though, has been the story in their 2-1 start. Each has been decided by 7 points or less, and they've progressively done a better job in terms of holding the opposition down in total yards. We come back more with pregame as we get set for the Bucks and the Catamounts after this.
Can an experienced quarterback like Ryan Glover see that and make the defense pay when he does?
28 yards on that last play. Play action and the connection for the touchdown. Raekwon Heath, the junior college transfer out of Columbia, South Carolina, his first TD grab in a Western Carolina uniform.
Well, this has just been a fantastic drive. I don't think Coach Spear could have asked for anything better. They've had nothing but positive productivity, great protection by the big boys up front, and just a nice throw and just winning your battle. You know, that's just a great job of the receiver winning his one-on-one battle.
Bucks are 6 in red zone offense this season. Sailors inside the 5. It'll be 1st and goal.
And there's usually nobody home because the defense is so, you know, their eyes have been, you know, kind of hypnotized into going after the running back.
See if they go to Sailors again. He's been the focal point on the latter stages of this drive. Instead, Landis on the keeper, and he gets into the end zone, and ETSU indeed answers.
You know, you don't want to get behind in this game early, because that's going to be the same kind of thing you saw last week if you're Western Carolina.
Paxton Robertson, Elijah Huzzy, dangerous play, and it's a turnover. Western Carolina able to come away with it. Why Huzzy ever tried to touch that ball near the sideline is beyond me, but there was a guy who's been active so far catching the ball for Western Carolina, Dylan Abernathy, and he comes away with it.
He's telling his guys to stay away from it. He's pointing to him, telling him where it's going to be, and then he decides to go up and catch it. I think as you look right there in the replay, if you look at the replay, I think he took his eyes off of the ball real quick.
Right now are on their way to first team all SoCon status. Richard McCollum, the field goal try to put his team back in front, has the distance, and it's good. McCollum 3 of 6 on the season. That field goal covering nearly 45 yards, and back in front go the Catamounts. 10-7 first quarter here in Johnson City, Tennessee. Getting ready for the second quarter here in Johnson City, Tennessee on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. Ingles, low prices, love the savings. With Jared Singleton, Pete Ganady with you here at Green Stadium. And that man, Randy Sanders, sees his team trailing 10-7. Western Carolina up on ETSU. Year number 3 as a head coach for the longtime former assistant at places like Tennessee and Florida State. And he says they need a better start this week than they'd gotten over their first 3 games. Each were close ball games. 2 of them his team won by fewer than 7 points. But a good start is key for any team, but especially one that's had the issues sustaining drives and being consistent on offense like the Bucks have been.
And he's not used to that. And he's not used to being around offenses that, you know, have those type of problems.
Just the 4th catch this season for Quillen.
Some trickery.
They
wide
get
open.
Fancy. Open man,
wow.
Couldn't be any more wide open. And on his way to the end zone is Clayton Bardall, the tight end. 2nd time this season that he scored a touchdown off the old reverse flea flicker.
Man, I haven't seen that one in a minute, Pete, but that was a fantastic job. Great setup, but why not? I love to see this kind of play calling by the offense right here. You've been running it all, game, throwing it around and taking your shots. This is the type of play calling that Western Carolina fans want to see. They want to see their offense, you know, having fun, trickery plays, but plays that are able to produce yards and ultimately touchdowns. This has been a fantastic first half so far for this Western Carolina team.
First catch of the game for Sailors, his 12th in the season, and now Holmes back in, and he's into Western Carolina territory. He's got 9 carries, 62 yards. Sailors 7 carries, 67 yards to go along with that 12-yard reception. Holmes, more room.
Ooh!
Breaking away. One man to beat with a stiff arm, and he's in. Touchdown.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Pete, this is just fantastic job. Again, these offensive linemen are just so physical. They're doing an amazing job, and they have a great running back in Holmes who sees the block. This is a perfect view right here. Just watch. They see the pressure coming, but you have a great offensive line just moving people out the way, and then Holmes does the rest. Great balance, and just right here, sure speed and will to get into the end zone. Fantastic job. Great way to answer that previous touchdown by Western Carolina.
But it's the Cats who lead where it counts. 1st and 10. Dump off. Holmes breaks away from one, has room in the open field.
Man, and just, run the football up the gut, get the job done.
Holmes looking for a second touchdown of the game, and he's got it, and the Bucks have their first lead of the afternoon.
Great job. Great drive. Great job by Quay Holmes.
Might have been good for us to have a meteorologist on the sidelines as part of our crew today here at Green Stadium in Johnson City, as early spring weather has played havoc with our ball game between Western Carolina and ETSU. We were delayed over an hour and a half from the scheduled 1 p.m. start because of both a hailstorm and also thunder and lightning and heavy rain in the area. And then now we're hoping we've come out of a lightning delay, as you see Western Carolina and ETSU back in the field stretching out before we resume with Jared Singleton, Pete Yannity back with you on our Ingalls SoCon Game of the Week. Just before our delay, Quay Holmes took it in for his second rushing touchdown of the game, put his ETSU team up 23-16. We're awaiting the Tyler Keltner extra point, but it has been a compelling ball game so far, and one that has been dominated by the ground game of ETSU.
I mean, they really have, but it really started out with West Carolina kind of taking it to ETSU, coming out the gate very aggressive, throwing the ball down the field, building that early confidence with their quarterback Ryan Glover. And then, interesting, turnover right here. I'm not quite sure what was going through their mind, but, you can't have those type of plays in the game. But fortunately, because, like you said, the run game for ETSU has been very good. Saw some trick plays, love to see that early on. And, again, these things are fun. This is what kind of gets the mojo, gets that energy going for a Western Carolina team that really needs to see that and have some of that energy going. But then again, it's just been the Quay Holmes show, and that offensive line, just power, just speed, as you see right here, just get off me, grit. And again, he's having a big day, already 165 yards, 1 yard away from eclipsing what he had against Western Carolina. The big, long field goal, 54 yards by the field goal kicker, career long for him today. Again, but it's really been just what this run game has been like, and these offensive linemen have just been pounding the defensive line into submission, really having their way with them. And again, I think we're going to see that here in the last 12 minutes of the fourth quarter as well.
Second time together that Sailors and Holmes of ETSU have combined to each go over 100 yards rushing in the game. That second touchdown rushing, and 6th of the season for Holmes, is what gives us our current score of 23-17. But back to Western Carolina ETSU. Big third down play for Ryan Glover.
Got to get rid of it.
And Glover, pressure comes, and he's taken down. Huge play by the defensive front, Kamen Cody. Lyman getting all the way out there on the flat and coming up with his first full sack of the year.
I love that Cody stuck with it. You see he just keeps working, gets off of his block, and great pursuit angle, and makes the big sack. But, that's really one of the first mistakes we've seen from Glover today. You can't hold on to that. You can't take a sack. Try to throw the ball to one of your teammates that can, make a play for you.
And the all-time series between these two mountain rivals now within a game, as Western Carolina's lead will be cut to 25-24 with one tie, and this is the 50th meeting. What a close series it's been. What an interesting day it's been for us here in Johnson City, 5 hours after our scheduled 1 p.m. kickoff, and here we are. Quay Holmes, on a day in which he carries 30 times for 197 yards rushing, is backed up by his teammate Jacob Sailors with 136 of the Sailors limped off. A couple of rushing touchdowns for Holmes and a 24-17 ETSU win.
We're going to Spartanburg next week. We'll be there for the Citadel Wofford game. Spartanburg, we're coming home. Beacon, Krispy Kreme on Church Street. Get ready because I'm coming. So go ahead and call your suppliers because I'm coming to town.
ETSU now gets ready for a big battle. First place will be on the line next Saturday in Lexington, Virginia, when they visit unbeaten VMI for Western Carolina. Another tough loss. They fall to 1-5 and 1-8 overall as they played those 3 fall games. Catamounts next week get ready for a visit from Chattanooga, which also still has its eye on winning a Southern Conference championship. But for this day, the ETSU Bucks improved to 3-1 and very much remain in control of their own destiny. Thanks so much to our great crew here in Johnson City. It was a fun game, a tight game, a ball game dominated by the running backs, featuring an aerial attack early on by Ryan Glover and Raekwon Heath of the Catamounts.